Daniel never thought his wedding day would feel like this. The sun had already set, and the city lights were glowing outside, but inside the ancient hall, everything looked unreal. Golden lamps burned along the walls, throwing long shadows on the high ceiling. The guests were silent, watching him with strange eyes. Their faces seemed half-hidden, as if mist was covering them. He felt as if he was standing in a dream that did not belong to him. At the center of the hall stood his bride. She was covered in a long white veil that shimmered faintly in the light, as if tiny stars were sewn into the fabric. Daniel had never seen her face. The arrangement of the marriage was sudden, a mystery even to him. He remembered asking his uncle, "Who is she? Where does she come from?" But the old man only smiled and said, "She is chosen for you, Daniel. Do not ask too many questions." Daniel's heart was restless. Who marries without knowing their partner? Why was her identity hidden? But even with fear inside, he felt a strange pull in his chest, as if destiny itself had placed him in this moment. The priest began to speak. His words were low, heavy, and filled with a rhythm Daniel did not understand. It did not sound like English. In fact, it did not sound like any earth language at all. The syllables echoed like ancient chants, and Daniel noticed the guests nodding in agreement, their lips moving along as if they knew every word. A chill ran through his spine. Where am I? Who are these people? When the priest lifted his hand, the hall became completely silent. He turned to Daniel and said in broken English, "Do you accept the union, even without the face revealed?" Daniel's mouth went dry. He wanted to speak, to ask, to refuse. But when he looked at the glowing veil of his bride, his chest tightened. Something about her presence calmed his fear. Her shape was graceful, her movements soft, and even without seeing her eyes, he felt she was looking deep into his soul. I accept," Daniel whispered. The priest nodded. Then he turned to the bride. His words returned to that strange language, but Daniel somehow felt the meaning in his heart. The bride lifted her head slightly, the veil catching the golden light, and answered with a voice that was soft yet carried an echo, as if two voices spoke at once. The sound froze Daniel in place. It was beautiful but unearthly. No human voice could sound like that. The priest lowered his hands. "It is done. You are now one." The guests clapped, but their applause was muted, almost hollow, like hands striking stone. Daniel forced a smile, but his heart was racing. He glanced at the faces in the hall again. Were they even human? Some eyes glowed faintly, and some shadows seemed to stretch longer than normal. He blinked hard, thinking maybe it was only his fear creating illusions. The ceremony ended quickly. The bride walked beside him, her steps light and almost floating. Daniel wanted to take her hand, but something held him back. He thought of speaking, of saying something to break the silence, but no words came. Finally, they entered a long corridor leading to the chamber prepared for them. Torches burned on both sides, and the air smelled of sweet smoke. The sound of their steps echoed endlessly. Daniel swallowed hard. He wanted answers. Who was this woman? Why was she hidden from him? Why did everyone act as if this was normal? When they reached the door of the chamber, the guards bowed and stepped aside. Their armor looked strange, dark metal with golden lines, and helmets shaped like something from another world. Daniel tried not to stare, but every detail screamed that this was not a normal wedding, not a normal world. Inside the chamber, golden curtains hung from the walls, and a soft bed waited in the center. Candles flickered gently, creating a warm glow. The bride stood silently, still hidden under the shining veil. Daniel's chest felt heavy with questions. He finally spoke. Why me? Why this marriage? His voice shook. The bride turned her head slightly, but did not answer. Instead, she stepped closer. Her presence was overwhelming, like standing near a storm that had not yet broken. Daniel could hear his own heartbeat in his ears. He wanted to lift the veil. His hand trembled as he raised it slowly. But before he could touch it, the bride placed her own hand gently over his. Her skin was cold, almost too cold, but her touch sent a strange calmness through him. Not yet, she whispered, her voice echoing like wind through mountains. Daniel froze. That voice, It was too perfect, too unnatural. He felt both safe and afraid at the same time. He stepped back, breathing heavily. The bride stood still, her face hidden. Outside, the sound of the guests faded away, leaving only silence between them. In that silence, Daniel understood one thing. This was no ordinary wedding. Something greater, something otherworldly, had tied his life to this mysterious bride. And tonight, he would find out the truth. Daniel sat on the edge of the bed, his mind spinning. The wedding ceremony had ended, but the mystery around his bride had only grown. The chamber was quiet except for the soft crackle of candles. Shadows danced on the golden curtains, making the room look alive. His bride stood near the window, still covered in that glowing veil. The moonlight touched her figure, and for a moment she seemed unreal, like a vision pulled from another world. Daniel's hands trembled. He wanted to speak, but he didn't know how to begin. Finally, he whispered, "Who are you?" She turned her head slightly, but her face was still hidden. Her voice came low, almost like music. "You will know when the time is right." Those words sent chills through Daniel's body. They were gentle, yet they carried a power that pressed against his heart. He wanted to push, to demand an answer, but something inside him warned, "Don't rush." Not yet. He leaned back, staring at the ceiling. The silence between them was heavy, filled with unspoken truths. Then he noticed something strange. Her shadow on the floor was not the same as her shape. It stretched wider, longer, almost like wings that had not yet unfolded. Daniel blinked and rubbed his eyes. When he looked again, the shadow was normal. His heart pounded. Am I imagining things? Or is she truly something else? The bride moved closer, her steps making no sound on the floor. Daniel felt his chest tighten as she approached. She stopped just a few feet away, and even through the veil, he felt her eyes on him. "You are afraid," she said softly. Daniel nodded without speaking. "You should be," she added, but her voice carried no cruelty. It was simply truth. He swallowed hard. "Then why marry me? Why choose me?" She tilted her head, as if studying him. "Because you are different from the others. You will understand, even if it breaks you first." Her words confused him more. Different? He was just an ordinary man, nothing special. Why would someone so mysterious, so powerful, be tied to him? Suddenly, the candles flickered, and a gust of cold air rushed through the chamber. Daniel looked around, startled. The windows were closed, yet the air moved as if invisible wings had passed by. He turned back to his bride, and for a heartbeat, the veil lifted just enough to reveal a faint glow beneath it, two violet eyes staring straight into his soul. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. The glow was not human. It was beautiful, terrifying, and endless, like staring into the heart of a star. He froze, unable to look away. But then, just as quickly, the veil settled back, hiding her again. "You saw nothing," she whispered. Daniel shook his head slowly. I saw enough." His voice was weak, trembling. The bride lowered herself onto the bed beside him. The mattress hardly moved, as if her body carried no weight. The scent of her presence filled the air, something floral yet sharp, unlike anything he had smelled before. Daniel kept his eyes down, afraid that if he looked at her again, he would lose himself. Minutes passed, but they felt like hours. The silence pressed against him until he could no longer bear it. "Please," he begged, "just tell me who you are. Why this marriage? Why me?" The bride's voice softened, almost like a lullaby. "Because tonight is the beginning, Daniel. You're not ready for the whole truth, but soon you will see. And when you see, you must decide if you will stand with me or against me." Her words struck him like thunder. Against her? Was she warning him or threatening him? He could not tell. Then, as if to seal the mystery deeper, she lay back, her veil still covering her face. Her breathing was slow, steady, almost inhuman in its rhythm. Daniel sat beside her, wide awake, his heart pounding. He stared into the flickering candlelight, knowing that sleep would not come to him tonight. His mind replayed everything. The strange ceremony, the guests with shadowed faces, the priest's alien language, the guards in armor that didn't belong to Earth. And now, the glow of her eyes. This was no ordinary woman. This was no ordinary marriage. Daniel knew one thing with certainty. The truth of his bride would change his life forever. And as he sat in silence, somewhere deep inside, he realized the reveal had already begun. The night in the chamber stretched on like an endless shadow. Daniel had not closed his eyes once. His bride lay beside him, still under the glowing veil, silent and motionless, like a statue made of light and mystery. Every breath she took carried that strange rhythm, calm but too perfect, too steady. Daniel wondered if she was even breathing at all, or if it was only an illusion meant to comfort him. The candles had burned low, leaving the room in dim orange light. Daniel's mind raced with questions. His wedding was a mystery. His guests were strange. His bride was more than human. And yet, he felt tied to her, as if invisible threads bound their fates together. Suddenly, the silence broke. A soft hum filled the air, low at first, then rising like the sound of distant thunder. Daniel sat up quickly, his heart pounding. The hum was not from outside. It was coming from his bride. Her veil began to shimmer brighter, glowing like silver fire. Daniel's breath caught. The sound grew louder, and the air grew heavy, vibrating with hidden power. Slowly, she sat up, her movements graceful but unnatural, as if gravity did not control her. She turned her veiled face toward him, and Daniel felt his chest tighten. "It is time," she whispered, her voice carrying two tones, one soft and human, the other deep and alien. Daniel shook his head, his throat dry. "Time for what?" "For truth," she said. She raised her hand and touched the edge of her veil. For a heartbeat, Daniel wanted to stop her. Part of him feared what lay beneath, but curiosity burned stronger than fear. He needed to know. The veil fell away. Daniel gasped. His heart slammed against his ribs. His bride's face was both beautiful and terrifying. Her skin was pale, but glowing faintly, as if light lived beneath it. Her eyes were enormous, shining violet, deep as galaxies. They pulled him in, making him feel like he was falling into infinity. Her features were delicate, almost human, but too perfect, too sharp. Her cheekbones caught the light like crystal, and faint lines of gold ran across her skin, glowing softly. Her hair, no longer hidden, flowed down like liquid silver, moving gently even without wind. Daniel could not breathe. He had never seen such beauty, such strangeness. She was not a woman. She was not human. She was something far beyond. He wanted to speak, but no words came. "Now you see me," she said, her voice echoing in his bones. Daniel stumbled back. You're not." He stopped, unable to finish the word. "Not human?" she asked, tilting her head, her glowing eyes locked on his. "No, I am not." She stood, her form rising taller, her presence filling the chamber. The golden lines on her skin spread slowly, like veins of light, wrapping around her arms, her neck, her chest. Daniel felt both fear and wonder. He wanted to run, yet he could not move. "I come from far beyond your stars," she continued. "My people watch, my people choose, and now I am here." Daniel's voice shook. "Why me? Why this marriage?" She stepped closer. Even with her strange form revealed, her beauty was overwhelming. She knelt before him, her glowing eyes unblinking. "Because you're the one chosen," she said. "You are the test." Daniel's stomach turned. "A test? For what? For whom? What does that mean?" he demanded. She touched his hand gently. Her skin was cool, smooth, yet alive with faint vibration, like holding a piece of the storm. "If you accept me," she whispered, "your world will be safe. If you reject me, your world will fall." Daniel pulled his hand away, his heart racing. Safe from what? Her eyes darkened, violet fire swirling within them. Safe from us. The words crashed into him like thunder. His bride was not only alien. She was part of something larger, an empire, a people powerful enough to threaten Earth. And this marriage was not love, not destiny. It was a trial, a judgment. Daniel backed away, his breath shaking. He stared at her glowing form, half in awe, half in terror. She was both angel and monster, salvation and destruction. His voice cracked. What happens if I choose wrong? Her eyes softened, though they still burned with light. Then you will not live long enough to regret it. The chamber fell silent again, but the silence was heavier now, filled with danger. Daniel realized his life had changed forever. The bride he had married in mystery was no longer secret. She was an alien, powerful and beautiful, and the fate of humanity might rest in his choice. But could he ever trust her? As the night stretched on, Daniel knew one truth. The real test had already begun. The chamber was silent, but Daniel's heart was not. It pounded so loudly that he wondered if she could hear it. His bride, no, this alien woman, stood before him, her veil gone, her glowing form revealed. Every flicker of her violet eyes made his fear deepen, yet something inside him whispered, "Listen." Daniel forced himself to breathe. "Tell me the truth," he said at last. "Who are you? Why am I part of this?" She lowered her gaze for a moment, as if gathering strength. Then she spoke, her voice carrying that strange double echo. "My name, in your tongue, would mean nothing, but my people call me Selaira. I am a daughter of the Ziri Dominion, one of the oldest empires among the stars. For thousands of your years, we have watched Earth, watched your wars, watched your peace, watched your rise." Daniel blinked, his mouth dry. "Watched us? What?" Selaira lifted her hand, and the golden lines across her skin brightened. For a moment, images filled the air, holograms glowing like smoke and fire. Daniel saw distant galaxies, fleets of ships larger than cities, alien cities that stretched across mountains and oceans. His eyes widened. "The Ziri are powerful," she continued. "We conquered worlds when your kind still lived in caves. We ended species that did not deserve the stars. We spared only those who proved their worth." Her words hit Daniel like ice. He stared at the visions, armies of light crushing alien worlds into silence. "You kill entire races?" Her eyes glowed darker. "We judge. If a world is weak, it falls. If it is strong, it joins us. But Earth is different." Daniel's chest tightened. "Different how?" Selaira stepped closer, her silver hair floating softly around her face. "You humans grow fast. You learn faster than most. And yet, you destroy yourselves as quickly as you build. My people cannot decide if you're dangerous or worthy. That is why I am here." Daniel swallowed hard. "So, I'm a test." "Yes." Her voice softened, but it cut deep. "This marriage is not only union. It is trial. You are one man, but through you we will judge the soul of your species." He shook his head. "That's insane. I'm just Daniel, an ordinary man. I work, I eat, I sleep. I'm not a hero. I'm nobody." Selaira's glowing eyes studied him. "And yet, you are the one chosen. Do you know why?" Daniel opened his mouth, but no words came. His mind screamed, "Why me?" She answered for him. "Because you showed something rare. When others turned away, you helped. When others feared, you faced danger. My people search for someone who carries not only strength, but compassion. And we found you." Daniel's throat tightened. He thought back to small moments in his life. Helping a stranger on the street, standing up against unfairness at work, protecting a friend in a fight. To him, they were nothing. To her people, they were proof. Still, his fear grew. "So, if I accept you, Earth survives. And if I don't?" Selaira looked away, her face calm, but her voice heavy. "Then Earth will burn." Daniel felt his legs weaken. He sat down on the edge of the bed, burying his face in his hands. The weight of the universe pressed down on him. One choice, one marriage, one life, deciding the fate of billions. Selaira moved closer, kneeling in front of him. For the first time, her tone softened, almost human. "I do not wish to destroy your world, but I cannot go against my people forever. They watch me now. They measure your every word, your every action. This is the trial of humanity." Daniel looked into her glowing eyes. In them, he saw galaxies, endless and merciless. But he also saw something else, loneliness. She was not only judge. She was prisoner of her duty, torn between her empire and something she had not expected, the heart of a human man. "You didn't want this, did you?" Daniel asked quietly. Her lips curve in a faint, sad smile. "No, I wanted freedom, but I was given you." Daniel's chest tightened again. He could not tell if that was curse or blessing. Before he could speak again, a sudden knock thundered on the chamber door. The golden curtains shook with the vibration. Selaira's eyes widened. "They are here," she whispered. Daniel stood, fear gripping him. "Who?" "The Watchers," she said. "The council does not wait." The door began to glow with strange symbols, as if burned by invisible fire. A shadow fell across the chamber floor, and Daniel knew the trial was no longer secret. Others had arrived to see if he was worthy. The chamber door glowed brighter with each second. Strange runes burned across its surface, symbols Daniel had never seen before. They pulsed like living fire, and the air grew heavy with power. Daniel stepped back, his chest tight, as the sound of low voices echoed beyond the door. Deep, commanding, and inhuman. Selaira stood tall, her glowing skin reflecting the symbol's light. For the first time, Daniel saw fear in her violet eyes. She turned toward him quickly. "Listen to me. Do not speak unless spoken to. Do not show weakness. They are not like me. They have no patience for human mistakes." Daniel's throat went dry. "Who are they?" "The council," she whispered. "My people's highest judges. They will decide if you are worthy or if this union must end." Before Daniel could answer, the door burst open with a blinding flash. Figures stepped inside, tall and terrible. There were 5 of them, each wrapped in dark metallic robes that shimmered like oil on water. Their faces were hidden beneath masks of silver and black, but their eyes glowed faintly, each a different color: red, blue, gold, green, and white. The chamber trembled with their presence. Daniel felt his knees weaken, but Selaira stepped forward and bowed her head. "Esteemed council," she said, her voice steady though her hands trembled. "I present to you my chosen." The figure with golden eyes tilted its head. Its voice echoed like thunder trapped in a cave. "This is the human? This fragile thing?" Daniel clenched his fists. He wanted to shout, but Selaira's warning echoed in his mind. "Do not show weakness." The figure with red eyes spoke next, its tone sharp like a blade. "You reveal yourself too soon, Selaira. The trial was not meant to begin tonight. Why have you broken the silence?" Selaira lowered her gaze. "Because he deserves truth. I will not bind him with lies." The council murmured, voices overlapping like storm winds. Then the figure with white eyes raised a hand, and silence returned. "And what did he do when he saw you reveal?" Selaira's lips parted, but she hesitated. Slowly, she turned her eyes toward Daniel. The weight of the council's gaze fell on him. His chest burned, as if every breath was under judgment. Finally, Selaira answered. He did not run. The council fell silent again. Then the one with blue eyes stepped forward. Its robe dragged along the ground, making no sound. It leaned closer, studying Daniel like a specimen in a cage. Strange. Most humans would flee. Most would scream. And yet this one stays. Daniel forced himself to meet those glowing eyes. "I don't understand any of this," he said, his voice shaking but firm. "But I won't run. Not until I know what this really means." The chamber grew colder. For a moment, none of the council spoke. Then the red-eyed figure hissed. "Arrogance. Humans have always been arrogant. That is why they burn so easily." Daniel's hands curled into fists. He wanted to shout back, but Selaira moved quickly, placing herself between him and the council. "He is not arrogant. He is brave. That is why I chose him." The golden-eyed figure's voice boomed. "Chose him, or to fight us? You risk our judgment, Selaira. Do not forget your place." Daniel felt anger rise inside him. He stepped forward, ignoring the fear pressing against his chest. "Enough. If you want to test me, then test me. But don't talk to her like she's nothing. She's risked herself for me. That means more than your threats." The chamber fell deadly silent. Selaira's eyes widened in shock. The council's glowing stares turned sharp, cutting through Daniel like knives. Finally, the white-eyed figure spoke. "Interesting. He protects the bride. Even without understanding, he stands. Perhaps there is something here. The green-eyed figure leaned closer to Selaira. But you know the cost. If he fails, his world falls, and you will watch it burn with him. Selaira bowed her head, her voice quiet. I know the cost. The council turned and began to leave, their robes dissolving into shadow as they vanished into the air. But their voices lingered, echoing like whispers carved into stone. 3 nights, 3 trials. If the human proves himself, Earth may stand. If he fails, hostis. The chamber doors slammed shut, the runes fading into silence. Daniel stood frozen, his heart racing. He turned to Selaira. 3 trials? What trials? She looked at him, her violet eyes full of sorrow. The council has spoken. Your life, your choices, your courage, they will decide everything. Daniel, the fate of your world now rests in you. And as the candles flickered weakly, Daniel realized something terrifying. This marriage was no accident. It was the beginning of humanity's judgment. The chamber was silent after the council vanished, but the weight of their words remained heavy in the air. 3 nights, 3 trials. The phrase echoed inside Daniel's head like a curse. His hands trembled as he tried to make sense of it all. Selaira stood near the window, her silver hair glowing softly in the moonlight. Her eyes, still violet flames, followed him with quiet sadness. For the first time, Daniel saw not only strength in her face, but fear. He swallowed hard. What do they mean, trials? What am I supposed to do? Selaira's voice was calm, but each word carried sorrow. They will test you, Daniel. Your courage, your loyalty, your heart. Each trial will measure what it means to be human. Pass them, and Earth will live. Fail, and Earth will be ashes. Daniel felt his stomach twist. He was just an ordinary man. No soldier, no hero, just Daniel. And yet, somehow, the weight of humanity had been placed on his shoulders. Before he could respond, the chamber trembled. The golden curtains shivered, and the floor beneath them glowed faintly with strange patterns. Selaira's eyes widened. It begins, she whispered. The room dissolved into darkness. The walls, the ceiling, the candles, all vanished, leaving only black emptiness. Daniel gasped. He reached out, but Selaira's hand caught his. Her touch anchored him, cold yet steady. When the darkness lifted, they stood in a vast arena. The sky above was not Earth's. It was a swirling storm of green and red clouds, lightning flashing like swords. Stone pillars rose around them, carved with alien runes that pulsed with light. At the far end, 5 thrones floated in the air. On them sat the council, their glowing eyes burning down on Daniel. The red-eyed judge stood first. Its voice thundered. The first trial begins. Courage in the face of fear. A roar shook the arena. From behind the pillars, a creature emerged. Daniel's breath froze in his throat. It was enormous, twice the size of an elephant, with black scales that gleamed like obsidian. Its 4 legs ended in claws sharp enough to cut stone. 2 sets of wings unfolded from its back. Its mouth dripped fire. Daniel stumbled back, his chest tight. What is that? Selaira's voice was steady, but urgent. A Karen beast, bred for war. In my people's eyes, it is death itself. The golden-eyed judge spoke. Face it, human. If you run, your people are weak. If you stand, perhaps there is hope. Daniel shook his head wildly. I can't fight that. I don't even have a weapon. The white-eyed figure leaned forward. Courage is not in the blade. Courage is in the heart. The beast roared again, fire spilling from its jaws. Daniel's body screamed at him to flee, but Selaira grabbed his arm. Her eyes locked onto his. Listen to me, she whispered. They do not want to see you win with strength. They want to see if you stand, even when fear is stronger. Do not run. Face it. Daniel's legs shook, but he turned toward the beast. The ground cracked as it charged forward, wings beating the air, fire glowing in its throat. Every instinct told him to run, to hide, to surrender. But he forced his feet to stay still. Closer, closer. The beast's eyes, red as burning coal, locked on him. Daniel raised his voice, though it trembled. I'm not afraid of you. The beast roared, flames spilling out, but it slowed. Its claws scraped the ground just feet away from him. Daniel stood firm, fists clenched, eyes wide but unblinking. The council watched in silence. For a long moment, time froze. Then the beast lowered its head. Its fiery breath dimmed. With a final growl, it turned and retreated into the shadows. The arena fell silent. Daniel collapsed to his knees, gasping for breath. His body shook, but his heart beat with fierce relief. The council spoke as one, voices echoing like thunder. The first trial is past. Selaira knelt beside him, her cool hand on his shoulder. Her voice was soft, almost proud. You did it, Daniel. You faced fear. But the council's eyes still glowed. The red-eyed judge hissed. Do not celebrate yet. 2 trials remain. Harder, stronger, deadlier. And only then will your world's fate be known. The arena dissolved into darkness again. When the chamber returned, Daniel was back in the golden curtained room, his body still trembling, his mind overwhelmed. He looked at Selaira, his voice broken. I don't know if I can do this. She touched his cheek gently, her eyes glowing softer than before. You must. For your people. For me. Daniel swallowed hard, knowing the truth. 1 trial was done. 2 remained. And the hardest choices were yet to come. Daniel sat in the chamber, his body trembling, his heart still racing from the first trial. The fire-breathing beast's roar still echoed in his mind. He wanted to rest, to wake and find this all had been a dream, but the truth was clear. There was no dream. This was his life now. This was humanity's trial. Selaira sat near him, her silver hair glowing faintly in the candlelight. Her eyes carried both strength and sadness. She touched his hand gently. 1 trial has passed. 2 more remain. And then, your people will be judged. Daniel closed his eyes. I don't know if I can survive 2 more. You must, Selaira whispered. Because if you don't, Earth will not survive at all. Before Daniel could speak, the chamber shook again. Darkness swallowed everything, and when light returned, he stood once more in the alien arena. Above, the storm raged, lightning painting the sky. The council sat on their floating thrones, their glowing eyes locked on him. The blue-eyed judge rose. The second trial has been measured. Now comes the last. The final truth of humanity must be revealed. Daniel's stomach twisted. Already? What about the second trial? The white-eyed figure leaned forward. The second has already happened. You stood for the bride against the council. You defended her, even without strength. That was loyalty. That was the second trial. Daniel blinked, shocked. He hadn't realized his choice in that moment had counted. Then his chest tightened. Only 1 trial remained. The golden-eyed figure's voice boomed. Now, the last trial, the trial of choice. Will the human accept or reject what has been given? Will he choose his bride or his world? The words hit Daniel like a blade. He turned towards Selaira, who now stood beside him in her glowing alien form. Her violet eyes shimmered, but her face was full of sorrow. What does that mean? Daniel asked, his voice breaking. Selaira's voice trembled. They demand you choose, Daniel. If you choose me, you accept the union with the Ziri Dominion. Earth will live, but it will never be free. It will belong to my people. Daniel's chest tightened. And if I choose Earth, her eyes darkened, then I must return to my people. Our union will end, and they will see it as rejection. They will destroy Earth. Daniel's legs weakened. His choices were blades cutting both ways. If he chose Selaira, humanity would survive, but as slaves. If he chose Earth, humanity would die in fire. The red-eyed figure hissed. Decide, human. The stars do not wait. Daniel looked at Selaira. Her glowing face was unreadable, but her hand reached out, trembling. Daniel, she whispered, I never wanted this for you, but I cannot defy them. Only your choice matters now. Tears burned in his eyes. He thought of his family, his friends, his world. And yet, when he looked at Selaira, he saw not only alien power, but something human in her, loneliness, hope, and love. He stepped forward, his voice shaking. I choose. He stopped, his throat tight. Then, slowly, he looked directly at the council. I choose her, not because I want Earth to bow, but because I believe she will not let Earth be broken. If you want judgment, then judge me. I stand with her. The arena fell silent. The council's glowing eyes burned brighter. Thunder cracked above them. For a long moment, Daniel feared he had doomed his people. Then the white-eyed figure rose. The human chooses love. The human chooses loyalty. And in that choice, we see strength. The golden-eyed judge's voice shook the air. Earth will not burn. Earth will not kneel. It will stand. The union is accepted. Daniel gasped, his knees weakening. He had passed. Somehow he had passed. The council vanished in a storm of light, leaving only silence behind. The arena faded, and Daniel found himself back in the chamber. Selaira stood before him, tears glowing like liquid stars on her cheeks. You saved them, Daniel. Not because you were the strongest, but because you were true. Daniel reached for her hand. We saved them. Together. She smiled softly, her silver hair flowing like light. For the first time, she looked not like a judge or an alien, but simply his bride. And as the night ended, Daniel knew one truth. Humanity's future was no longer just human. It was shared with the stars.